Hey guys, it's Graham. Welcome back to Truckerman Reads. Check the link in the description. Go buy one of my novels. I have a dozen of them out. There's something for you. Thoughts today: time travel as a story element. The most basic thing that you can say about it is that once you introduce time travel as a possibility in your story, you're opening a can of worms, plot hole wise, of like, okay, well, if you can do this, then why wouldn't you use it to solve every problem that you have? The easiest thing to remedy that is slapping a high cost on it effectively, or an inescapable punishment if you get it wrong or if you do something abusive with the ability. I'm bringing this up because this week the Ghost Machine comics that came out, I got Geiger I believe it was number 19, came out this week. Geiger finally meets the Northerner, and the Northerner has already had a couple of issues with the Redcoat. He meets him back during the Civil War times. Northerner is established as a time traveler, and he's from an alternate timeline in the future. I don't remember exactly what his future, what his present was when he traveled back to the Civil War, but he's from Detroit in a timeline where the South won the Civil War and slavery was never abolished, and he's a black guy, and so he comes back in time to figure out that he finds out that it wasn't really supposed to be that way, that somebody went back and changed it, and so he's trying to go back and reset it. And so he's chasing down another time traveler who's got futuristic weapons and who's trying to make sure that the South wins and that slavery keeps happening. Now he's meeting up with Geiger, and we're introduced to a potential future story beat that, as I've been thinking about it the last couple of days, I'm pretty sure that this is like teasing and pitching the ultimate end game scenario for Geiger as a character. To recap it quite simply, the Unknown War from Ghost Machines is a line of overlapping comic titles: Redcoat, Junkyard Joe, and Geiger. And I thought that First Ghost was just going to be kind of like a one-off thing, but the way they're talking about it, it's going to be a series or maybe a mini-series. I don't know. It was supposed to come out last year. Now it's coming out this year, which is fine. I'm ready for all of the America-themed comics that are going to come out this year for the 250th birthday. I refuse to say semi-quincentennial or something. It's just pretentious at that point, but I digress. The first Ghost is George Washington, and we're given to understand that he's got the same kind of magical immortality condition as Simon Pure, as the Redcoat. So bring it on. Very excited to see what they do with that. But there's a whole timeline starting in 1776 when Redcoat becomes immortal, and then it goes all the way up through Geiger, who is 25 years in the future, from our present. America has been annihilated by a nuclear war, and he's walking across the radioactive wasteland, encountering different sects and different factions, and he's generally miserable and sad, but he's finding these little mini quests and arcs and stuff to go on. And I did not expect to get into Geiger as much as I have, but it's been an excellent book. And in his encounter with the Northerner, there are also a bunch of characters that happen in between in this timeline, but with Simon the Redcoat being immortal and Geiger being at the tail end of the timeline, they're going to overlap. With Geiger meeting the Northerner, you're teased with this idea that maybe Geiger's timeline wasn't supposed to play out this way either, the same way that the Northerner's timeline wasn't supposed to have slavery continuing on into the 20th century. And I like that because, one of my complaints about history generally is that most people only know about World War II and slavery. And so we get a whole ton of movies and stories and books and stuff about that. The Unknown War hasn't been about that at all. There's just one episode where it's okay, yeah, here's how the Civil War matters to the Unknown War timeline. They're not flogging that mule too hard. But the Northerner suggests to Geiger that maybe we can go back and not only prevent, America from being obliterated by the nukes, we can also prevent your family from dying. That's what happens at the beginning of Geiger's story in Geiger Volume 1. He knows that a nuclear war is coming, and he lives in Boulder City, Nevada, just south and to the east of Henderson. And he's got an Armageddon bunker ready. His wife and his kids get inside, and he's got to stay outside. And because he was a cancer patient and he was getting this radical experimental treatment, like, he's able to survive the radiation and absorb it. That's where he gets his superpowers. But he can't open the vault until radiation levels are down enough, and he's just got to trust that his family is in there and they can survive off of all the stuff that he gave them. Turns out they didn't. Like, they died, and he's basically been guarding it too for 20 years. But now the Northerner's pitching it to him. He's like, hey, I'm a time traveler. We can figure this out, and we might be able to fix it, fix you, fix all this stuff. Like, okay, I have a feeling that they're going to have more arcs for Geiger to go through. But this idea is going to come in and out of the narrative, and the ultimate resolution to Geiger's story into the unknown war may very well involve him going back in time and preventing all of this crap from happening. But we'll have to learn more about how that works, how the technology works, and what are the costs of it and everything. The cost of it is on my mind because right now I'm also listening to the full cast audiobook of Harry Potter 3, of Prisoner of Azkaban. It just came out this week. Like I said, I'm going through all those books with my kids. They just finished Order of the Phoenix, and so they finally got to watch the movie. Gosh, that book is just a slog to get through. There's very little redeeming in it, even though it's so important for the next arc of it. It's just a hard read. But anyway, I say hard in the sense that, like, I read things for enjoyment, but it's 700 pages of Harry being miserable. Anyhow, Prisoner of Azkaban it does great things with time travel, but it also introduces that same problem of what is the cost of whatever mechanism gives you time travel, and what are the potential plot holes that you're opening yourself up to with something this powerful. Now, since the series ended, it's one of those things that somebody thinks about some particular element of Harry Potter, and they're like, this really wouldn't work because of this, that, or the other thing. I mean, with 30 years of hindsight, people could do that now. And the meme for the time turners, which is basically just like a little necklace, you can flip it backwards and send yourself back an hour in time. The meme for that is Gandalf, Dumbledore saying, "Hey, no spell can revive the dead, Harry, except for the time turners. We'll use that to save Buckbeak, this animal that was killed." If it's something as simple as a medallion or a locket, and there are only very strict laws in place for its regulation, like, there didn't really seem to be a whole lot of downfall to using it. And in fact, the entire climactic third act of the story depended on the characters being able to use this technology, or magic, whatever you want to say, very easily and with pretty much no cost to themselves, to undo a couple of things that they weren't able to successfully do the first time around. And then obviously something that powerful would be targeted by evildoers, by followers of Voldemort, whatever. And I think they mentioned in the 7th book, like, oh yeah, all the time turners were destroyed after something or other. And it's like, okay, yeah, quick throwaway line. I'm not going to be like too strict or too hard about it, because like overall the stories in that entire series are told really well, and it's very non-complex magic in terms of how the world works. All right, and if you stress test it too hard, it'll break. And so there are times when you've just got to kind of go with an explanation, even if it's not as satisfying as some of the other things that she set up and established in the series. Hey, kids' books are for kids. There are things that are going to work for more seasoned and adult readers, and other times it's just like, okay, yeah, I guess I just got to buy this and keep reading. So there's a flaw there. I've written some time travel stuff myself, Sleepless Hollow had a time travel chapter, and then later I wrote Six Emperor Tyrannosaurus, which is a short story that happens within that one chapter. Effectively, Ichabod Crane comes back from the dead and builds a time machine to go back and change the outcome of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow so that he gets the girl. But according to the rules of the world, spectral enforcement, the ghost cops, who may or may not be directed and ruled over by God and angels, have very, very strict rules about what you are and aren't allowed to do with things like this. You can't go back and mess up the timeline, because then you'll change how people died and who lived, and they're more concerned with mortality and ghosts and all of that stuff. Like, you're not supposed to mess that up, because there's a purpose to life. Life is a test, and whatever happens to you, you don't get to retake the test or redo the test. Well, Ichabod builds a machine and goes back in time, and they're not able to thwart him from going to begin with. But yes, you have an exhaust kit, don't you? Silas and Kay are able to build a second machine, and even though it takes them 60 years to get it right, they go back and thwart Ichabod at the time that he jumped. And the explanation that I gave is like, okay, you can't do this, and biblical crap will happen if you do mess with time. But the only reason that it hasn't happened yet is that we know about it and we're able to stop it. And so no matter how long it takes us, we have to stop it, or else we failed, and that is bad. And I, as the writer, like, I didn't explain the full ramifications of that to the reader. You just got to kind of have to take it that it's enough for the main character to know, for Silas to know, like, I cannot fail at this. As long as I am still alive, I have to try to make this work and go back and undo another undoing that was already done, but not undone. See, time travel, it's confusing. In short, this is, it's like the fact that in comics, like, nobody dies, or nobody really stays dead. If death doesn't really have a cost as a storytelling mechanism, then time travel basically takes that same fact and applies it to everything. Like, you can't really make a bad choice or a mistake if you've got low cost time travel and you can just go back and fix it. And if stories don't have stakes or consequences, then like they lose what really gives them gravitas, impact, all of that. So in short, basically any action that a character takes has to have a cost, and time travel could very easily become a device that negates that. That's where the problems creep in. So if you're a writer, I guess think about that, and if you're a reader and you've read a really good time travel story that gives you options, or gives you a new take on that, let me know, because I'd like to read it. I generally don't like seek out time travel stories, but I like ideas that are well executed, even if it's something that's been well trod. So let me know what your preferred time travel story is. Final note, these full cast Harry Potter audiobooks, they've been really good. Like I said, I'm mostly through the third one now, and I love full cast audio. It's I love the immersive quality of it. It gives you a lot of the things that you might expect from a cinematic treatment, but you're not bound to the time and cost constraints of cinema. It just augments the experience, and I love that. And as for Ghost Machine, I got another video that I'm going to do about that, but I want to share the images. They've got a cool idea that they've got coming up in April, a 5-issue kind of mini series, but I won't talk too much about that here. Once again, I shall iterate. Go down into the description of this video and find the link to my Amazon store, and whether you are old or young, male or female, there is a book there that will be right up your alley. So check that out. Drive safe. See you out there.